Hey, this is Connie Jones with the Warrior Arise podcast, where we empower men and women to live in the freedom and fullness of their God-given identity, purpose, and potential. Each episode is filled with transformational insight, counseling and coaching wisdom, practical tools, personal growth and wellness expertise, and biblical truth designed to bring healing, clarity, and courage. Whether through the solo episodes or powerful interviews with purpose-driven leaders, you'll be equipped to unleash your powerful warrior within so that you can live and lead bravely, freely, and authentically in your life, work, and calling. Let's go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Warrior Arise podcast. Today, we've got one of our Arise therapists, Amy DuBose, with us, and I cannot wait for you to get to know Amy and hear her heart and just the way that, number one, that she loves her clients, that she is so wise, and that she's caring and compassionate and loves the Lord. And so we're just going to dive in. Welcome, Amy, and thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about you and what God put in your heart and the work that you do, because you're incredibly gifted and just have a beautiful way with your clients. And just so I love your passion for your work. And so let's talk about like what led you, what fuels you, what inspired you to become a therapist in the first place?
That's a really good question. So it's kind of it's a long story that I'll try to not be super long with, but I have since, oh goodness, probably since my undergrad years, like the age of 20, I think, have wanted to do some kind of counseling. Early on, it was ministry. Like I just wanted to do ministry. I worked at a Christian summer camp, and that was just something that, I was encouraged by the director of the camp. Like, you should, because I was an English ed major. So I really loved English. And so he's like, I'm wondering if you should change your major and go like counseling direction. So I did. So I got a bachelor's degree in biblical counseling. Didn't do a whole lot. I graduated from college. I did do some counseling with teenage girls. I was assistant dorm supervisor in a Christian boarding school.
Wow.
And so lots of opportunities to just speak into the lives of teenage girls and just dealt with all kinds of issues. And so that was kind of my early experience with counseling and teaching at a Christian high school. And then the Lord, kind of called us away from that ministry, started having kids. And then I was using all my counseling skills with my
yourself and your kids.
Yeah,
you're doing your own personal and family counseling. We get it. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh man. And so anyway, so fast forward, years later, we just went through a really hard time. My son, just lots of things, but I had always kind of been very intrigued by the way that our bodies, because when I got my degree, it was in strictly biblical, what we call nouthetic counseling, where you really don't integrate any form of psychology in your counseling. It's just strictly biblical, and kind of the Bible has answers to all of our problems, no matter what, and there's so much there. That's great. But also I was seeing a lot of things that I just did not sit right with me the more that I studied and the more I prayed about it. And so I really was intrigued by how our bodies really are whole beings. God created us body, soul, mind, spirit. We are, and it all affects the other. Right. And so I went through some personal health issues that affected my, whether you want to call it my mental health, my mood, my brain. So it's just, so that just really intrigued me about how my body is very much, my brain and my body are very connected and affect all of it. So really loved diving into that. And so then my son, my youngest son, was diagnosed with PANDAS. And we've talked about this before, but for those who don't know that, it's an autoimmune disorder that can cause all kinds of issues that look like behavioral and mental health issues. For him, it was severe OCD, just sudden, very kind of almost an overnight change in him, rage. So through my whole process of that and trying to help my son, and then also the burnout that comes from being a caregiver to my son, and I was caring for my mom who had Alzheimer's, and it was a lot. And I hit burnout myself. And I hit a point where I literally said, I can't, and I'm making it emotional, but I can't do this anymore. Like I was actually, I think it's a little fresh today because I was just telling you, Connie, I was journaling and I was reading some old journal entries from actually around this time, um, where it was like, wow, I can't, my body is just like saying I'm done. Like my
Yeah.
nervous system was
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And so I remember just feeling so frustrated because I didn't feel I could find anyone who understood.
What you were dealing with.
Yes, like I needed help to get my nervous system healed because it was very much a physical issue.
Right.
And I also needed someone who could just speak biblical truth into my life and understand that the struggle with faith that I was having. I didn't want to walk away from faith. I needed it. I needed God. And so, it was one of those, like, I just felt like there was no one who could help me. And it really propelled me. And I found a couple of people who were able to help, but it just made me see the need, and it propelled me into um, deciding to go back for my master's degree in clinical mental health at a Christian university. So I was getting the good, like, biblical foundation, and also the psychology, and learning how the body works and how people work and why we do the things we do. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, and it's all culminated to now.
Yeah.
I just finished with my master's. So
That's beautiful. Yes. And you have been with us for since when? How long have you been with
it
us?
was August of last year. So just over a year and a half.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. And so, and we have just loved having you. We love the perspective that you bring. And it is so beautiful that you have a heart for people who are, and I'll let you talk about that. For the people who are struggling or have struggle with not only just parenting in general, but and in their marriage, in their stage of life that they're going through, but also with like caregiver burnout, with autoimmune, the pans and pandas, you're a specialist in that, and help people walk through that with their kids. You see kids in general, you see teens, and you help adults deal with their stress and overwhelm. And it's just incredible to all the things that you can do, and all with a compassionate, um, holistic perspective, but biblically sound, and you shepherd hearts, really, is what you're able to do, and it's so beautiful to watch. And it is crazy when not crazy, it's incredible when we have gone through something ourselves and we are able to turn our our pain into purpose, and our mess into ministry. And that's what you're doing. And so who do you feel most called to work with at this point, and what kinds of, what are they struggling with? What kinds of patterns are you seeing, with your clients? And I know it's a little bit all over the place. I mean,
It really is. And that's, when you ask me that, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
it is hard to say because it's one of those things where I think going back to school and getting into a whole new career
yeah,
at 46 years old, like I have the advantage, I guess, of having lived a good bit of life and
yeah.
gone through some stuff.
You've got life wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have so much still to learn.
Yeah,
But
we
it
all do.
does make it a little bit my heart is tugged in a lot of directions, and so still really honing in on, what does that mean for me right now? But I can tell you I love working with, clients who've experienced trauma,
Yeah,
because I got my EMDR training and just to see how God can use a skill, a tool like
yes,
that to be able to help someone work through trauma and
yeah,
bring them to a point of just really beautiful healing. It's been really cool to see that. So
yeah,
definitely trauma. And then of course autoimmune, kids who have pans and pandas, kids who are neurodivergent, families who are working, who are trying to help neurodivergent children in the way that it just affects the whole family.
right,
It's not just the child, it's obviously the parents and the siblings, it's the whole family system that's
right,
affected.
yeah,
So that I have a heart for, and the caregivers. I'm like, this I understand so like acutely. So
yeah,
caregiver burnout is definitely one that I really have a heart for.
yeah,
OCD is a big one just because it's so closely tied to pans
right,
pandas. So a lot of kids with
yeah,
pans pandas have OCD. So this is something that I again have like more life experience with than I ever wanted to have as a
yeah,
caregiver of a person with OCD,
yeah,
severe OCD. So
yeah.
those are things that those are, I guess, my main specialties. I love working with couples also. So that's kind
Mhm.
of just a fun thing I really enjoy. So
Yeah.
that hits the big ones.
Awesome. Well, tell us, you mentioned EMDR, and we'll dive into another episode of, just EMDR alone and talk about trauma. But just give us a little overview of, you said it helps people address trauma and heal from trauma. But explain just really quickly what EMDR is and how it does help people process, heal, and reprogram from trauma.
Yeah. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Yeah.
So it's a big mouthful, but basically what EMDR does, it takes bilateral stimulation. So it's where you're stimulating both sides of the brain. That can be through eye movements, moving your eyes back and forth, or tapping, any kind of stimulation on both sides.
Yeah.
Um, and what that does is the idea is that it helps your brain to basically become more integrated. It helps your brain to process or to finish processing correctly the
Yeah.
trauma that you've experienced. So
Yeah.
through that process, basically we kind of go back to those memories, use the bilateral stimulation to walk through the memory. And as we do that, it's desensitizing as in it's just making it less um you don't forget it. It just makes it less painful, I guess. It
Exactly. I kind of like, how an analogy came to me one day that it's kind of like you've got that wound there, you've got and it hurts. And it's kind of like what we try to do is just scab over it, but it continues to ooze and pus and hurt, and if it gets knocked or if it gets, or it just like, it just continues to, because it's not healed all the way.
right.
But what this starts to do is, or you can tell me if I'm wrong, but what it seems like it starts to do is it starts to heal from the inside out. And then so you don't have to scab over it. And then eventually you got a scar there.
Yeah.
You feel that, like, you look down at your hand or whatever, and you're like, oh, I remember that happened, but you don't have so much emotion and so much stress and so much pain tied to it. Like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, oh, that happened.
Mhm.
Part of my story.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's a great illustration. Yeah. I mean, you definitely, because you're not going to forget. You're not going to forget what happened, but it becomes part of your story. And even to the point
Yeah,
sometimes where, um, like God can even use that in really amazing ways, to help
absolutely.
other people, as we've already talked about.
It can be really empowering and strengthening,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
and strengthen you, but other people too. And
Yeah.
so,
And I just kind of want to jump in real quick too and just
yeah,
point out because I've heard people say like, oh, you don't want to basically like desensitizing or making it less is taking away from like what God could do with that or whatever. And it's something that I'm like, no, that's first of all, many people who need EMDR who are really suffering from the effects of trauma. I mean, we know that trauma can cause panic attacks and sickness. Literally, people can experience sickness,
it's
flashbacks. I mean, things that really interfere with your ability to just function in daily life.
right.
So all,
Anxiety. I
yeah.
mean, yeah,
And so all we're doing with EMDR is just being able to kind of face that trauma head on because what we do is we stuff it down and
right.
we pretend it's not there, it didn't happen, whatever. So now it allows us to kind of face it head on and it makes it less power. It just doesn't have as much power over us anymore. And so we're able to face it head on and kind of plow through it and
Yeah.
come out the other side with the scars and the ability to be able to use what that that trauma that happened.
Yes, yes, which is so and awesome when you can do that, when there's not pain and triggering associated with it, and then you can take it and go, oh, here's what I want to do with it.
Yeah.
You can feel again empowered in it.
Yeah.
That's so good. So, how do people and how do people know like that they would be how do people know that their trauma is impacting them and that they would really benefit from EMDR?
Yeah.
What are some of the things?
I mean, I think some of the things we've already said. So if you're dealing with a lot of anxiety, that's probably a good indication. And when I say I mean anxiety, just this like almost like a physical, like a
Yeah,
lot of physical issues I think can
yeah,
happen as a result of
yeah,
trauma. Depression. I have worked with clients maybe who have struggled with self harm, even or depression, anxiety, where there's been trauma and it's never been dealt with or processed. And so being able to process that, it's amazing to see
yes.
how the change and the whole spirit comes about. It helps with the anxiety, panic. If you're having panic attacks, um,
Yeah, that's a good one.
they're all huge indicators that there might be some trauma you need to address.
Yeah, yeah. And so EMDR then is it effective for everyone that has trauma, or are there certain people that need to do EMDR, or what's the how do we know, or how does someone know if EMDR is right for them?
Yeah, it's such a good question because it is
Yeah,
harm. I mean, I think harm has been done, before when you have a therapist who just decides like, oh, there's trauma. We're just going to jump right into processing. That's not good. It's not
yeah,
client, it's not taking care of the client. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean, really making sure that so when if someone comes in and says, I think I need EMDR, I would do, we do a full assessment. What are the symptoms that you're dealing with? And so if a client is in a state of crisis, like if they are dealing with suicidal ideation, um, if they are actively self-harming, these are things that we have to, it doesn't mean they can't ever do it. It just means that we have to get them stable first
right.
and learning how they can use some tools and resources to be able to
Yeah,
cope with what they're feeling. And so that's kind of the first step. So it's not necessarily for everyone all the time. There
right,
has to be a really thorough, I guess, screening to see like, are you at a point where you can handle facing that trauma again.
right. Yeah.
And that's good client care.
Yeah. And so if they are thinking, oh, maybe I do have trauma and maybe I do want to get, maybe I want to see if I'm a good candidate. Is it just a matter of, them contacting you and you walking through that with them? Is that what? Okay. Just
Yeah,
doing
that's exactly it. Yeah, just it's coming in and having a session and just
yeah,
kind of telling me what's going on and how you're
becoming,
dealing with it, and that might take more than one session even sometimes.
yeah,
But like I said, I mean, a lot of times it's not that we can't do EMDR ever. It's that we have to get that person, they've got to get to a stable enough place. And that's what we're going to do, right? Like
Right.
we're going to get them to a stable enough place so that they can then actually participate in the EMDR.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's incredible. And it actually is healing and then helps shift the mindsets and the beliefs around the trauma that is life changing.
Yeah, for sure. And one
Also.
thing I wanted to just add to, just made me remember when we were
Yeah.
talking, if someone is dissociating, in other words, they're kind of checked out or have separated themselves from reality. A lot of times it can be difficult for someone to allow because they've been protecting themselves for so long. And
Right.
so we have those protector parts, right? That are like, no, you're not accessing that. No way.
Right.
Because we've got to keep you safe, right? These
Exactly.
protector parts just are doing their job. And
Absolutely.
in keeping you safe. And they've done it for so long. And this has been the case with some clients where we've had to address, like, okay, even to the point of like, what is that character, that protector
Yeah.
that's keeping you from being able to enter into that memory or that even the whole process?
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, that's a good point. And so you help people identify those and soften those so they don't have um to continue to keep you safe, but you provide but you help someone feel safe enough to be able to go there so that they can get healing in the place.
Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. Other than EMDR, how do you, if you're not using EMDR, I know that's just one technique that you use. If you're not using EMDR, how do you help your clients like uncover beliefs, understand where their wounds are, understand their protective patterns or their protective parts that are keeping them stuck? How do you help them like uncover that and then begin to work through those?
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely do a lot of CBT. So, we really look at what are the emotions, because I think that it can be this is one of my, I hate to say a soapbox, but this
Oh,
is one of the things that I really, because I think a lot of times we are just told to ignore emotions or to try to make them go away, or we just want to feel better. What can I do to feel better
yeah,
now?
exactly.
Instead of just taking the time to like stop and look at this emotion and
Yeah,
realize it's a signal and
yeah,
it's trying to tell me something. And so sitting with clients, being able to look at what are the emotions that they're dealing with, and then okay, so we know we're dealing with whatever it is: anxiety, sadness, loneliness, depression, like anger. And to be able to take that and try to figure out, okay, let's kind of go back. When did this start? And can we figure out what led to this? And what are the beliefs that you are telling yourself? What are the thoughts that you're thinking
yeah,
that are kind of, and it's like a cycle, that are leading you to that emotion.
exactly.
And like the emotion keeps you stuck there. It's just this, and then behaviors that we perpetuate because of the thoughts that we're thinking and the feelings that we're having. And it leads to often destructive behaviors. And
Right.
so a lot of CBT and then yeah, just trying to figure out what are the core beliefs. And I ask a lot of questions. I think that's how we get to what the core beliefs are, because a lot of them are pretty common.
Yeah,
And so just asking questions to help the client, because I'm not going to tell somebody what their core belief is, but like helping
absolutely.
them think
Them get to it
through. Yeah. Yeah.
and uncover it. Yeah. And then once you get to it, how does it actually like talk about the process for you of helping someone get healing and transformation and freedom?
Yeah.
Like, is that
So
really okay? Is that really possible, first of all?
yes. I mean, if
Yeah.
I If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be doing
Right,
this.
exactly. Well, and I asked that because I, kind of playing devil's advocate because it's kind of like, I mean, that's kind of what we specialize in here at Arise is helping really people get breakthrough and trust. We want to get to the root of the issue, not just help people manage symptoms.
Right,
And
right.
not to throw a diagnosis on someone and leave them there so that they are, this is your life. This is what, yeah, yes, you may, you know, you may be having some symptoms of that and you may be may be what is presenting. However, we're going to help you out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it's such a nuanced thing, right? Like because there are so many possible root causes.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I have, my son, his anxiety and OCD is it's not necessarily rooted to any like faulty belief system. I mean, there's literally a physical issue.
Yeah.
But at the same time, some of that has led to because he's been in that cycle for so long. And so what can we address that can be changed? And then how do you learn um how do you learn how to thrive with the with what's going on? Is it something I can change? Is it a mindset shift?
Yeah.
If it's not something I can't change, whether it's a physical, maybe you have a chronic illness, a physical condition that's not, I mean, short of, God healing, which is certainly possible.
Sure.
And we pray for that. But if that's not what God chooses, how do you thrive and how do you um basically learn how to have joy in that circumstance. So, and I know I'm all over the place. I feel like
No,
I'm not totally answering your question, but
no, that was a good point. Yeah.
yeah. And I think so I guess that's just to say sometimes there are things that we cannot change. And we have to learn how to be able to thrive in that, to manage, to function.
Sure.
And then there are sometimes things that absolutely we can change, that we
Yeah.
have total control over. And so I think it's a lot of learning where does my mindset need to shift? What am I believing? And how do we know, okay, well, what does the truth say? And how do I tell myself? I mean, again, I was just telling you this morning, like this morning, I was just going,
Yeah.
all the things were just piling on top of each other in my head. And it's easy to, like, if I just let myself continue in that
Yeah.
anxiety, that would, I mean, I've seen where it leads. It
Sure.
leads to, again, illness, irritability, anger, frustration, impatience, all the things. And so helping clients be able to recognize when they start to get into that spiral, and giving them tools like, okay, let's like take a minute, pause, and let's sit down. For me, I love to write it out. It gets it out of my head and onto the
Right.
paper. That might not be for everybody, but helping clients find the tools that will help them be able to not be stuck in that place. And it's
Right.
not, I think you can't just sit and talk about it. It's got to be, okay, what are the changes? What are the things that I can do that are going to help me to
Yeah.
work through this?
Absolutely. And then, like you said, shifting mindset and aligning with God's truth changes us. God's word has so much power in it that it produces change from the inside out. So we have his grace in us to be able to, and in his word, the power of his word to, as we align with that, to begin to change us inside and then change our circumstances, on the outside. And so a lot of it is repatterning, reprogramming, understanding the power that we have to live in, as victors over, the things that have plagued us,
Yeah.
in some cases. And so that's, but it's so hard to do on your own, walking it out. Like even like I like have had to have, like constant support and guidance throughout me trying to change things about myself that my very best thinking and my very best effort just couldn't change on my own, and that's why it's so important to have someone to walk it out with you, to see things you can't see for yourself, to say things that you know, can't believe for yourself, and you can, it's encouraging to you and empowering, and then guide you in ways that, that you wouldn't have thought of or known about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's so true.
that's the power of sitting with people the way that we do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so let me ask this: if you because I think we've answered, like, I wanted to ask you about, like, how you actually help someone move, to that more, grounded, free, and I think you've answered that, and you've reiterated that it is possible. But what about that person out there right now who is going, yeah, I've tried therapy. Um, yeah, I don't think that anyone would understand. I've been here so long. I don't feel hope for this. I don't want to just go in and share all my stuff with somebody. Like, all the resistances that keep us out of really dealing with what's
Yeah.
going on and getting the change that we want. What do you want that person to know right now? What do you want to say to them?
Yeah. I wish that I could just sit down with them just for a minute
Yeah,
and find out
I
what
feel
is
the
it,
same way. Yep.
right? Like, what is it that's holding you back? Is it fear?
Yep.
Is it shame?
Yep.
The stigma? Like, I would love to know because there's so many answers to that question. So
Yep.
there's so many answers, which means there's so many responses I could
Yep.
give.
Yep.
Um, but I think just knowing that they are not alone, that
Yeah.
there is no shame. In fact, it is the biggest act of courage to actually make that call and to take that first step. Like, okay, I need help. I
Yeah.
can't do this by myself.
Right.
Um, and I think that's probably the biggest thing is just encouraging them that they're not alone.
Yeah.
There is hope. And maybe they have
Mhm.
tried therapy before. Maybe it was a disaster because you don't always click with someone, or
Sure.
there are unfortunately lots of therapists out there who are maybe not, and I never want to throw anyone under the bus,
No.
but
Yeah.
you're not seeing progress
Yeah.
because, you're just talking about the
Yes.
problem over
Right.
and over and over.
Yes. Yes.
You're not
Yes.
making any progress.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think that there's all kinds of reasons that therapy
Yeah.
may not have worked in the past. That doesn't mean it has to be the case for, your entire future.
Exactly. Exactly. If listeners could walk away with one powerful truth about healing, about, like, personal transformation, what would you want that to be? What do you want to share with them in closing?
I think what I want to share, and this is gets a little bit tricky because I'm here to help anyone of any faith, right?
Yes.
At the same time, I cannot not not say um that truly the hope that we have for healing is in Christ. Like, I cannot not say that. Now again, if that's not something you want, that's not something I'm going to push on anyone.
No.
Um but I do believe that healing is always possible.
Yeah.
I do believe, and even if it's not something that you ascribe to personally, I have learned that there is so much. I mean, the way that God designed us to be in communion with another person.
Yeah.
It's interpersonal neurobiology. It's like these, your neurons are firing with my neurons, and there is literal healing that takes place when you can sit with a person who
Yeah.
just sees you as someone made in the image of God and worthy of value.
Oh,
You're valued, you're worthy of
yeah,
love and respect and compassion.
yeah.
And that in and of itself is truly healing. And that's probably, I don't know if that answered your question or not.
No, well, what you just spoke was a huge word of encouragement and truth. Encouragement in truth that hey, this is possible and this is available and this is what I would love to give you. And what are you waiting on? Because that's what you were made for.
Yeah.
We've got to, that's my passion is like, we have got to stop settling for struggling, striving, and surviving in this life.
Mhm.
Yes, will life be hard? Absolutely, because we live in a broken world. There is death, darkness, and destruction. But it is not our inheritance. It is not our allotted proportion or portion. It is not all there is for us. And we do not have to stay there, stuck in
Yeah.
there. And so I just love that you just, what you're doing is you're calling people up and you're inviting them into
Mm,
what's possible for them.
I
And
love that.
that's beautiful. So if someone's listening to this and they want to learn more about you and maybe want to have a consultation with you and, just see if you're a good fit for them or just ask you questions, how do they contact you?
Yeah, so you can go to our website,
Yep.
arisecounselingandcoaching.com. You'll find me there. I'm on Psychology Today too, but definitely, the easiest is probably just through our website, at Arise. Yeah, that's
And and
that's
you're happy to answer their questions and meet with them and whatever they
yeah.
need
Yep,
to
you can
figure out what they need.
schedule. Yeah, you can schedule just a phone call, even a 15 minutes, just to find out if this is going to be a good fit and
Yeah.
to see if I'm the right person for you.
Well, you are an amazing person, and I'm just lucky to know you. And I just
I
appreciate
feel
your
the
heart.
same way
And,
about you.
and thank you for spending time today sharing with
Sure.
us and putting this out into the world. Um,
Well, thanks
so,
for me.
um, yeah. So, you guys, thanks for joining us. And I hope that if this episode and, um, like awakened something in you or spoke to something in you that you will reach out to Amy. You'll reach out to us in general if you need, if that would be helpful. And you'll share this episode with somebody that like really needs to hear it because we are all about wanting people to have hope and wanting people to get the change, the transformation that they want and that they were made for. And so thanks for joining us and we'll see you back here on the next episode of the podcast. All right, guys. See you
Thank you.
soon. Thanks, Amy. Bye.
Bye.
I'm so glad you tuned in to this episode of the Warrior Arise podcast. I look forward to continuing our journey together as we live in freedom and fullness as the powerful warriors that we are. Please subscribe to be notified of new episodes. And if you gleaned wisdom and inspiration today, please share it with a friend or loved one. Also, write a review on iTunes. And I'll see you on the next episode.